we know we can shoot 8K. I know I can crop in super close. I know I can grab that new Q3 and crush crazy high-res photos. We can fly a freaking $20,000 drone and get insane low-light glacial photography. Like, we know we can do that, but like, what can I do with something that's not good? And that gets me fired up.
Pushing the boundaries. All right, here we are. What's up, Pete?
Hello, mate.
G'day, mate.
Rise up lights.
Welcome to Iceland.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you as always.
I've never been here in May. I've only been to Iceland in October, both times. Yeah.
And now you get the midnight sun, almost.
Midnight sun is the craziest thing I've ever experienced. I don't know how you sleep. Even with blinds, it leaks in. It's like it's always just morning.
Yeah, it's wild.
But golden hour for days, so I do understand.
The thing for me is I sleep all winter. It's dark. I can't do anything.
Yeah.
So in the summer, why stop?
It makes up
Just
for it.
Just keep going.
Yeah.
Just keep going endlessly.
I was very excited to experience it. I was not disappointed. But I am looking forward to getting some sleep when I get home.
Yeah. I bet.
Yeah.
I wanted to have you on and really discuss like something that is very personal to me. And that is, as a creative person and a photographer for a decade now, I've experienced, the classic highs and lows, the wave of creativity. And quite often I need to reinvent myself or find a way to reignite my inner creativity, or like my creative soul, I would like to call it. And we've had some good chats about that. And you, on this trip, brought a film camera only and this 720p video device.
I haven't even talked about this yet on my channel. And I brought this and the film camera for those exact reasons. I find that you can get pretty stagnant, and not to say that your passion is gone or you just don't like what you do anymore, but it can get monotonous. And the repetitiveness of just filming and filming and filming and shooting, and even filming in the same style and editing the same way, and your brand looks a certain way, that can get boring at times. And that's normal. I think if you didn't get bored of it, that would be more weird than getting bored of it. So these little things that I've introduced into my creative workflow, if you will, help kind of like stimulate that potential boredom, to bring the spark back. And it's funny that I've chosen things to do that right now in this period of my life where they're very old and vintage things are bringing back that spark. So this is a flip Minnow HD 720 in all its glory. And this was the money right here.
It's the best thing
ever. The built-in USB switchblade. I'm going to do it again because it's that satisfying. And you got to try it too. It flips out of there, because back when these cameras were popular,
that's so cool.
There's nothing like, it was not that easy to get your footage off. There was always RG or RCA cables and musters, like hot dog cables I used to call them. It was always a process. So this just made it super easy. And this was the first vlogging camera, if you will, that I ever used. And the story where I bought this, got super inspired, and this would have been back in 2007. And I was working at State Farm, and some of my followers would know this story, but I called in sick and flew to New York for a David Blaine event, and I vlogged, unknowing it was even a vlog, but I vlogged the whole thing on this little device, and I put it on my blog. I still had a blog with words. And
how cool is that?
It was pretty great. So I filmed it all, and I made this little video edit, and I put it on my website. And State Farm saw it because I was emailing it to all my friends from my State Farm email, which in hindsight wasn't the best idea, but maybe it was the best idea. And then they pulled me down to their office on a Monday morning when I got back and fired me. Oh. And I blame this camera, but at the same time, this camera is kind of what like launched my interest into recording videos and making small micro stories. So I just thought, everything that's old kind of is new again.
Yeah.
And it's the same with fashion. It's the same with style. And it's the same in filmmaking gear. You see a lot of people and a lot of cameras, Fuji and stuff, making cameras that emulate film and shooting film and shooting this and having the footage just look so vintage is cool.
Yeah.
So it's so bad that it's good. So I only brought this. There's 60-minute record time on it. That's it. And then you're done. And you've already had to dump it for me, which kind of defeats the purpose of only having 60 minutes. And then I only brought a film camera.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it's been really fun to watch you roaming around, thinking of or like analyzing every condition and seeing that we've been in is really like, is this worthwhile of my time?
It's and that's what I think has helped bring some of the spark back. Not that it's ever been gone fully. Obviously,
No,
it's still there enough that you were interested in trying to find new ways to be stoked about what you do again. But film has really done that. And it probably seems like I've never shot film before, but I used to shoot weddings in medium format. And I would shoot a full wedding. I would shoot like 10, 15 rolls. And you only get about like 12 shots or 10 shots on a 120 roll of film. I would put it in like a poly bag, like what you'd get like a Amazon Prime, and I would just tape it up and send it Canada Post to LA, where it would get processed. No tracking, because I was like 20 years old and just didn't care.
That's rogue.
That's super hectic. Yeah. So I would just send it out there with no tracking, and then I got an email back from the lab weeks later. And you just didn't know if you got the first kiss. You didn't know if you got anything in focus. You didn't know if you were even exposing it right. Did I even capture anything at all? But it was almost like gambling. It was just really exhilarating. It was like a rush every time I went to shoot something, and I'm feeling that again now, shooting with this M6.
Yeah,
I'm taking my time. I'm slowing down where I would normally just. I'm so used to using a digital camera. It's effortless.
Yeah,
it's so easy. It's fun and I'm comfortable, but I want to make it harder. I think art should be a bit of a struggle, and I think when it is, that's when there's angst being created like that. That's what makes good work.
And I think a lot of the concepts you apply to film photography, you can bring into digital as well.
Oh, totally.
And I've lately been looking through the viewfinder and really trying to consider every single part of the frame and why it's there. And, if I take like half a meter step to the left and get slightly lower, can this significantly increase the impact of a photo?
Yeah.
And quite often the answer is yes.
Yeah.
But because digital is so easy, we're just kind of so used to taking 500 photos, 1,000 photos. And like I've come back from some expeditions with 20,000 photos.
20,000.
Yeah, 20,000 photos.
Thousands.
And, I might use like 50 of them. And that's it. And I think my real reigniting the spark of creativity, this occurred for me when I was maybe 6 expeditions in. That's like 120,000 photos. Can you imagine?
That's a lot.
And no video. And my big change that kind of just set a new path for me was starting to, break it up 50-50. If I come home from a trip, I have 10,000 or 5,000 photos and this wealth of documentation in video format. I can apply the compositional skills that I'm trying to achieve in this mindset of film. And, make every single photo count, but then have like 50% more time.
Yeah. And and it's not to say that I'm only shooting film now, because digital's still great and it still has obviously its benefits. Like you can change your composition. Everyone knows this. Shoot as many as you want until you get it right, and that's good, and that's a good thing. I know I see a lot of people sometimes with the argument like, I'm not going backwards. Like, why digital is good and it's here for many reasons, and I agree with all those reasons. But being able to just remember to slow down and think about what you're shooting has been crazy. We just made a video from that roll in Paris, right? I took 36 pictures and I could probably post 27 of them, which is just the yield percentage on that is wild.
Yeah.
So that has been really interesting to even just see. And maybe this whole film thing maybe it's short-lived. Maybe I shoot for 2 months and then I think, okay, I'm tired of this now. And now this process is becoming annoying to me. And I've gone to Iceland only with film. I've shot some cool stuff only with film, and I've made some mistakes and I've missed out on some stuff. But what I would take away from that, going back to digital, would be like way more intention. Yeah. And I think even my digital photography would improve based on the principles I'm now applying that I learned shooting film again. So I think being able to revisit and not necessarily cement myself into one thing has been great for my creativity. It's been great for my burnout. Because like I get burnt out on photography when I'm doing all the time. I've been shooting for 18 years.
Yeah.
How do you make that interesting 18 years in, where I still, to this day, I liken it to coffee. I go through waves with coffee, but like I love it so much and I look forward to it every night I go to bed. That like I can't wait to go into the cafe tomorrow, sit with Kirk bust out my notebook and just drink a coffee.
It's a ritual.
Like I love that.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling that again with film. I'm thinking to myself, I cannot wait to start a roll of film. Like I'm frothing at like, what can I shoot? I'm trying to set up shoots again where I never used to do that. Like, let's get the Chevy, let's go to this beach. Let's get some themes. Like, can we get some beach balls, or like, can we rent a diner and get like some cool slat blinds with some really cool light? And those are things that I used to do with digital, and I still will.
Yeah.
But right now I'm being reinvigorated to remember like how exciting it can be. So I think, trying new things and using new equipment and making things harder for yourself is a way to make things easier for yourself.
Absolutely. I second everything you've said. And I think what comes to mind is building a strong foundation when you're learning this craft. Learning about composition. What does, the technical side, what do all these settings mean, and how can I best create a raw photo or a film photo that gives me the most flexibility later on when I go to do the grade or, develop
100%.
it. And those things never leave you. And, you might get caught up in 5 years of just like grinding these shoots out endlessly. But when then you finish that and you take a second to think, all right, I want to just dive back into the foundations. You have this encyclopedia that you can draw from. And when I'm asked like, what is the best thing to focus on early on when you're trying to build your skills, I would say like try as many different facets of photography or filmmaking that you possibly can. Like some of my earliest photos, I made this tray of milk and I was doing milk drops with bounce cards of different colored flashes.
Okay. Yeah.
And through that, like you're learning so much about photography.
Yeah.
And it's just fun to try it. I also did this wasp shoot where like I put the lens backwards onto the camera body, and it gives you like triple magnification.
Yeah. That's
cool. But then one of them landed on the lens, and obviously it's not attached. So I just dropped the 51.2. You know how like that was like the dream lens.
That's unfortunate.
It was really sad.
Yeah, that's a rough day.
But you learn a lot from that.
Yeah.
And anyway, I think out of that, this foundation got so strong that no matter what I was shooting, I could draw from that and really make it count.
Yeah, it's to go back to film again. I feel like there are facets of photography that I thought I knew really well, but what film has really been making me learn even deeper. And there's things sayings, and like I didn't know what a reciprocity failure rate was.
I don't know what that is.
A couple weeks ago, right? Someone was like, "Well, you got to check the reciprocity failure rate on that film if you're gonna do a long exposure," because I'm like, "Whoa, what did you just say?" And I don't even think I can explain it very well, but I know when you do a long exposure with film, the shutter can only be open so long before the light would burn like the emulsion on the film off, and then it doesn't work anymore. So each film has, and correct me if I'm wrong, I may be, but I think each film has a different reciprocity failure rate where it can be exposed for different amounts of time. So you have to adjust your exposure compensations to compensate for the amount of light that you're letting in when you're doing a long exposure. And just things that I had no idea that was the thing. So when I see a shot now with the film camera that's a long exposure of, Lombard Street or something in San Francisco, and you got the light trails all the way down and someone shot it on 35 mil, I'm like, that was so much more work than anyone realizes. But the knowledge it takes to be able to get that shot that you have to know is so fascinating to me. And relearning photography, like I'm carrying around a light meter everywhere I go now, and it's
been really funny to watch.
It's super funny. It's
super
funny.
cool.
It's funny for me to do. I'm standing in the Blink-182 show holding a light meter up, Tom in my face playing guitar, and I'm trying to meter his guitar for it's bizarre, but it's fun. And it's forced me to really understand photography.
Of course.
And that's the thing with digital. I'll admit, like I get a little lazy. If it doesn't look right, I look at the back of the screen and I move wheels until it looks good, and I can fix the rest in post. So there is a bit of laziness. Now I know what I want and I know how to get what I want, but when you're just kind of in the mix of it, you're just getting it done and you can fix the rest after. But not having that safety net now, not having that security and just full send,
full trust
has been pretty awesome. And that's what's exhilarating when I'm packing for Iceland and someone's like, "How long are you going for?" 2 days. You're not bringing a digital camera? And I'm like, "No, man, I got to learn the hard way too. If I blow a whole roll out here, chances are I won't blow it again, because I'll have learned from literally coming back from a trip with nothing." And
dude, you're saying to me like, I've been 3 stops overexposing. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But like, it really makes sense what you said.
Yeah, because with film, and again, this is all just like, it's lessons that I'm learning too.
Of
If you
course.
overexpose anything with digital, it's gone. Like the detail's mostly gone. But with film, like you can overexpose by 6 stops and the
So
photo
crazy.
still won't be like intensely blown out. Sometimes I think it looks better when it's overexposed.
The one you showed me, it really did.
Yeah. So but it's been cool because I've been talking to the lab, and the technician at the lab. I was asking like, hey, what am I doing wrong? Have you noticed anything from the film rolls I've dropped off? Like, what habits are you noticing that I could improve? And he says, I'm noticing that you're underexposing everything by about a half stop to a full stop. So I was like, okay, cool. So now when I'm out here shooting, and I get a light meter reading of 250, I'm like, maybe I'll shoot it at 125 just because maybe I'm underexposing a little bit, like maybe not, but when in doubt, overexpose. So I'll overexpose it by a stop. And now I'm really excited to see how these photos turn out.
Yeah.
So it's just building the knowledge bank, and I think doing that and changing the way you work is really inspiring for getting the spark going again.
100%. Like for me, the first 8 years were the pursuit of the hero image, like finding and executing the dream that was in my mind through a singular image and how I can tell the greatest story inside of that. And as the years have progressed, and honestly, like to be transparent, social media has changed and is more reliant on greater storytelling, using multiple images and sets. And that has shifted how I think about photography as well. And I've started to develop like just this really strong urge to tell the greater scene through maybe a set of 4 or 5 images. And I think it can work in print format really well. And what would get me going is having access to, for example, like a super telephoto lens, like 800 millimeters, 1000 millimeters.
That would
and
be
then
the
like,
size of this table.
yeah, it's not easy to travel
Wow.
with.
Yeah.
And then a really wide lens, as opposed to my old setup, which was really like, can I find one camera that can just achieve everything that I need? So gear has been getting me going lately.
Okay. Yeah.
And just getting inspired, to really think like, what is the purpose of, I know I'm like doubling the amount of gear that I'm taking with me, but like giving each thing a purpose. And when that special moment in nature is coming up, like a polar bear is staring you in the eye and you can't like mess it up. It's just like capturing the kiss at a wedding.
I missed focus. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to be like, all right, I've thought this through. This is an 800 millimeter shot and I want to get a close-up image so I can really, explain the story, the emotion of this creature as such a powerful being out there, and then support it with the wide shots. And before I was like, I'm only going to get the close-up and then I'm done. Like, let's have an amazing celebration of how cool this image is and
It's hard to think
the work behind it.
in advance like that. Like it's hard to
Yeah.
think. So you think in carousels, like in sets.
Yeah. So
Okay.
for me, that sparking my creativity now, and it stems from working a lot on the Netflix productions for Our Planet, where I've had the most insane advice about building sequences where, maybe I send them one shot that I really love and I'm passionate about. And they're like, that's a great shot, but that's not 1 minute. Like, how am I going to tell the story of this rock that we're trying to capture? And it really involves diving deeper and considering, the start and end point of every single move. If you move the camera, why are you moving it? Everything has to have a purpose.
Yeah.
And I feel like for photography, that's really come back in now. And I guess in the way that you're shooting film, I'm very conscious of why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. And it, of course, has halved the output. I'm like shooting way, way less.
Yeah.
But I am, at least I think I'm caring a lot more about why I do these things. And when I click the shutter, I know why.
I like that. And I get that from your work too. When I get to your profile and I can see the intention behind all of your work, and it's difficult to have that. I guess one of the other reasons too is like, I'm kind of tired of what I've been calling like influencer photography. It kind of feels like, and I feel like I've been doing it a lot. Like I know the recipe. Like I know what works. Like I know what could get like 100,000 likes on a photo, but a lot of the film stuff won't get that. But I'm being more filled by like the richness and the stories behind like the frames I'm trying to capture. But the influencer kind of photography is you're just traveling and taking bangers. You know what I mean? And I'm guilty of it. Like I do think there's a place for it, and it is great. But I'm just it's just a bit easy for me now. So I think I like how you think in sets, and I like how you think like beyond just the hero image. Whereas maybe that's a good way to explain it. Like being an influencer, like you're trying to just only post hero images. So everything is just so epic all the time, but it's just like one piece of the puzzle. And then when you do that for a bunch of years and it's just all, it gets a bit stale. We talk about that, Maddie and I, with videos all the time. He's like, you can't, I'll be way in my head about something and think like, no, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. I gotta tweak. I gotta add more parts to this. It's just kind of hollow. I don't know what to do. And he's like, man, it doesn't have to be a masterpiece every single time, because then when you do the masterpiece, it's not even going to feel like a masterpiece because every single thing you're doing is a masterpiece. He's like, so like you're just making life harder for yourself and you're shooting yourself in the foot, because now when you make something special, it's not special. It's just what people expect. So you're always not good enough. He's like, and you just need to be a human and just make something and don't worry about it. And that's been great advice. It's so hard to follow, though. I would still argue I don't follow it, but I think about it all the time.
It's an inner perfectionist quality, right?
Yeah.
Which is great sometimes.
It's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
I think it's what makes me successful, and it's what makes me good at what I do. And it's also what makes me really not good at what I do. And it makes me procrastinate, and it makes me get in my own way and get stuck. So it's both sides of the coin that I'm constantly, it feels like it's just in the air spinning all the time, and I just need to catch it and like decide. So,
but I think like you're human. We have, procrastination. I kind of like it. It's kind of fun sometimes to just be like, I'm not going to work right now and do something completely pointless, but I just want to do it.
Yeah. No, and that's important. That's this right now.
Yeah.
Like I could have brought my vlog camera, and I know I could have made a great little story out here about what we've been doing and the inspiring conversations we've been having and stuff. But I kind of think there's something cool about, I just filmed 60 minutes of kind of useless home video clips, but now I'm inspired to go home and see what I can make out of it. Yeah. Because now it's a challenge. It's a puzzle that I haven't solved.
You've talked about it so much. You're like, how's the footage? How's the footage?
Yeah. What does it look like? Does it look bad? Does it look as bad as I hope it does? Yeah. And like, why do you want it to look bad? I'm like, because it's different. It's, we know we can shoot 8K. I know I can crop in super close. I know I can grab that new Q3 and crush crazy high res photos. We can fly a freaking $20,000 drone and get insane low light glacial photography. Like, we know we can do that, but like, what can I do with something that's not good? And that gets me fired up.
Pushing the boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think for me, like, I know I've accepted, like, I have my formula for my career, and it is not a mainstream thing. Like, I'm in the coldest places on the planet, and not everyone likes that. But I really find the most contentment, the most satisfaction for this craft by doing what is the truest form of myself, or, achieving that through being out there and repeating time and time again, diving deeper into the same stories and seeing how those places change and adapt, and how I grow through that same process. And like, I don't think like you ever need to follow some like general script of how success can look anymore. I think, in fact, it's a noisy world. There's so many people and so much going on. The more that you can put time into really refining like what your niche or specialty could be, what makes you wake up in the morning with just that fire to go and dive deeper and learn more. And if you can really focus on that, I think that it's going to lead to you feeling better about your success. Even if it's less success, you'll feel so good and be able to wake up with that hunger to keep exploring that topic or scene. And for me, that is my whole life revolves around it. I mean, Iceland was this foreign place no one in my family knew, but I saw a glacier here and I was like, that's it. I'm packing up, I'm moving my entire life there, and I'm going to pursue this forever.
Now you are the Arctic.
I mean, I was just saying I get like pretty bad allergies, so it's really amazing to live in a place with ice. It's like just winter. But I mean, like, and furthering that, like, I'm about to become a father, and we've had some great chats about that. And Iceland is just, I feel like really like I am from here, and fully just switch my perspectives on what life means and what I want to achieve with my time. And the point that I'm trying to make is like, I know that it's not going to be that like golden equation that works for everyone, but I'm more comfortable sharing the truest form of myself. And if someone does resonate with that, we're probably going to have a great talk together. And that makes me happy. Yeah.
What if, let me throw this out there. What if you, and maybe you have before, but like, what happens if you get bored of your work, and you're like, you know what? I'm tired of glaciers and rivers and all this pretty photography. Like, I'm bored. Have you had that?
This? I went to Namibia and I shot like 40,000 photos of African wildlife.
Of course you did.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. 40 to 50,000.
Yeah.
Casually.
Haven't used a single one.
No. None of them.
So what those multiple trips showed me is how much, even when this particular path burns me out, this is the, truest form of myself. And I just need a little bit of a break to step away, reset my mind, focus on my core values, what I love most to do, and come back to it with a new, fire to keep going. And I really do think just a little bit of time away, like get some new experience under the belt, have your tool with you. For me, I still had the long lens and I was still like diving into photography, but I was doing it in a way that helps me to reset.
Yeah. That's probably the best advice you could give. Yeah, beyond the gear, beyond film, digital, whatever, stepping away, giving yourself time to appreciate what it is that you do.
100%. And like, I wish I could have used those photos, but I don't feel attached to them. I don't feel the connection like I do with the other stuff.
You could send them to me. I could post them on your behalf. I'll bury the tag in there somewhere.
Absolutely. Let's do it, man. You can send me some footage from this.
Yeah, happy to. You already have it, actually.
Yeah.
Dude, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's really great.
It took 4 hours for me to get here. I can't believe that. It's 4 hours from Toronto. That's insane.
It's just over the pond.
It was like I didn't even have time to sleep, man. We were up and down in 4. I can't believe it. So,
and then we went on like a rogue 2-hour mission into the wind. It's been hectic weather.
Oh my.
Yeah.
That was like I felt like we were on the set of The Martian. We were in this crazy valley, and everything was like red and clay looking and dusty, and there was this big ass rock like right in the center.
One rock.
Just one. And I was like, that's probably been there for a while. And then this dude drops on me like, oh, it's probably been there for 19 million years or some exact equation of how it got there and why it was there and how long it was there. Fascinating stuff. And I was just really captivated by this rock. And we just walked around it for a bit.
And then I was like, Pete, dust storm coming.
Yeah.
And then this wall of sand just obliterated us from me.
But it was so Hollywood.
Yeah,
it felt like a Christopher Nolan moment. Like it was just, you're like dust storm incoming, and we both covered, and then it just like ravaged the area for 20 seconds, stung the back of your legs.
Sandblasted my car.
Yeah, new paint job imminent. But that was great, and that was 10 minutes. From literally the airport.
Yeah. It's wild.
It's such
Iceland
a magical place.
It's a small island, but it's completely full of adventure. Yeah, every part of it.
Yeah, and I'm ready to have more of it.
And it's just the beginning.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this with me. It's really great to talk.
Absolutely,
as always.
Yeah.
And
we should do this more often.
Thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you soon.
Like and subscribe. Don't forget. That's
Please do.
Bye.
Bye.